A man walks into a nightclub with a beautiful girl in his arm. The show begins and the comedian comes out for his first show of the evening. The comedian says, a man walks into a nightclub with a beautiful girl in his arm. The show begins and the comedian comes out for his second show of the evening. The show begins and the comedian says, a man walks into a nightclub with a beautiful girl in his arm. Just then a man in the front row stands up and says, I think I've heard this before. The comedian says, maybe you caught my first show of the evening. The man says, no, I just walked in here. The comedian says, well, it was a guy who looked just like you, walked in with a beautiful girl on his arm, could have been your twin brother. The man says, my twin brother is dead. The comedian says, what is this, a wake? The man says, I don't have to stand for this. And he stands up, and he walks outside, and the comedian says, are you out there? I can hear you breathing. The man says, I'm holding my breath. The comedian says, well, I'm holding your wife. Just then the man says, that's not my wife. Then he walks back into the nightclub with another beautiful girl on his arm. Who's that lady I'm seeing you with? The comedian says. The man says, this is my wife. That other lady is my dead twin brother's wife. You can take her if you want her. The comedian says, not unless you say please. Just then a man walks into the nightclub with a tattoo of a beautiful girl on his arm eating elbow macaroni. The comedian says, is that girl from Italy? The man says, no, just hungry. Just then a man walks into the nightclub. He comes riding into the nightclub on a pony with a feather stuck in his hat. What do you call that? The comedian says. An entrance, the man says, but forget that. Just give me a beer and give my pony a jockey. The comedian says, I think that pony's had enough already. Well, make it a short jockey, the man says. And while you're at it, give that lady's lawyer some briefs. The lady stands up and says, I can defend myself, Your Honor. And the lawyer says, but I'll defend Your Honor, Your Honor. The judge says, well, honor or offer, make up your mind. The comic says, definitely honor. That's the best offer I've had all day. Well, take it or leave it, says the judge. Couldn't we, comedian? He says, well, you better drop leaflets before you bomb. Well, the comedian says, I'm already bombing. He says, well, maybe it's your material. He says, you don't think it fits? He says, well, it could be let out a little. The comedian says, how much do you think it'll cost me? He said, it'll cost you an arm and a leg. The comedian says, well, listen, can you put it on the cuff? The tailor says, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll forget the leg and just charge you an arm. And a beautiful arm it is. Okay, says the comedian, and the tailor cuts off the comedian's arm and gives him the suit. The tailor calls his girlfriend and asks her to go out in the town with him in order to celebrate. He calls on his girlfriend and gives her the beautiful arm as a gift. She wears it around her neck just like a stole, and they go out on the town. The man walks into a nightclub with a beautiful arm on his girl. The show begins, and the one-armed comedian comes out for the last show of the evening. He does his act, and the audience sends him. Audience, why, applause.